Well, good evening, everybody. A very warm welcome. This is the Fallout Bar from Online Darts after night 3 of the BetMGM Premier League Darts. Missed doubles for nines all over the gaff. Plenty of comebacks. And in the end, as always happens in the Premier League, 8 players come and throw darts at the board. And at the end of the night, Michael van Gerwen always wins. A very warm welcome to everybody that has joined us live. And if you listen to this podcast as well, hope you're glad to have you with us as well, wherever you're doing and whatever you're doing on this evening and what you're doing across the week. I don't know. It's been a long day. Don't ask. A very, very warm welcome, everybody. My name is Jarlath Theaton. Joining us this evening to look back. It's a very busy Fallout Bar. We have got a lot in tonight. A lot of people in with us. We have got Dan Simpson up there in the top right. In the bottom right, we have Cam McFarlane. But first of all, I want to say a very good evening to one of our newest members of the team there with his fantastic dartboard at the back of his house there. Mr. Jacob Cross, you should have the first word this evening, sir. Welcome to the team. How are you?
Yeah, very well. I'm delighted to be on board as well. An eventful night, as you've already alluded to, tonight. And looking forward to dissecting the action.
God, this is not going to last an hour, is it? It's going to be a lot longer with the 4 of us on here. Daniel, Cameron, hello. Very good evening to you both as well. This time in 2 weeks, I shall be driving you over from Exeter to Minehead, getting ready for the United Kingdom Open over there in Butlins. But it is a very warm welcome to you as well. How are you both?
Go on, Dan. I'll let you have first shot.
I'm very, very well indeed. Happy to. I didn't think that I would be available and around for a Fallout Bar tonight, so I'm very pleased to be able to join you all. Bit of last minute, I had an early meeting cancel in the morning that justified a bit of a late night tonight.
Nothing to do with it at all, is it, Dan?
No. Really good, good, solid night of Premier League action. Like, as you alluded to there, like we've had a couple of weeks of Premier League. It's got me personally into the swing of what's a very exciting few weeks in darts. We've obviously, I know this is the Fallout Bar for the Premier League, but we've kicked off today with the World Seniors Championships down at the Circus Tavern, which is still ongoing actually as well, with Jim McEwen 2-0 up in sets on Kevin Painter. But yeah, really exciting. We've got Newcastle next week up in my neck of the woods, and then following that, we are, as we know, all going to get together. We're going to Exeter, and then we're going to the UK Open. So for me personally, a very exciting few weeks in darts. But it did feel tonight, certainly with the result at the end, like after a bit of circusness and a bit of strange, new things and debutantes and interesting things going on, the Premier League has a little bit reverted to type tonight, and we're almost back on this is what a Premier League night looks like, isn't it? And people say that it gets a bit repetitive and we're only 3 weeks in, and it hasn't been repetitive, to be fair, but we've very much realigned ourselves with what we've seen for the last 10 years, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't think I can argue with that, really. I think you're pretty spot on. It has a little bit reverted to type, but it's reverted to type while still being bloody exciting every night. I think it's been great this year, and I think they've got the lineup pretty much spot on this year, where we've sort of mentioned this already on the last few weeks, but because the lineup's sort of spot on, it's not boring, because these games, it's just 8 players absolutely knocking lumps out of each other, and MVG's dodged a bullet again early on tonight, but in the end, he comes through and he wins, because he should have been 5-1 down to Peter Wright. Let's not even make any bones about it without throwing the toilet in.
We will come on to that. We need to get going, because otherwise we're going to be here all night introducing it. So let's get on with it. Very well welcome to everyone in the chat room. Love the darts. MVG for the win. You were correct on that one. Rebel County as well is in there. Hello to you, good sir. Harry's already saying, I can already see Dan's smug grin after his predictions, and he's not even on the screen yet. Well, he is now, and he is still very much grinning away. And also Liam as well saying, good evening, fellas. Hope you are all good there, my friend. Let's go and talk about this then, because it's going to be a busy night. There's no doubt about that. And we will start off with the first 2 quarterfinals there. Jacob, we'll come to you first on this one about Rob Cross and Michael Smith. I've got to be honest, it was a bit of a strange game, this, but in the end, the quality of Cross showed quite well here in the end with that 144 going all over on the 18s. He still loves the 18 segment, does that matter?
Yeah. I was just about to touch on that, how pivotal Rob Cross is, particularly on the 18 segment. You think about the 90 quite early on when he's gone 18, double-double, how pivotal that was at the stage of the game. And as you touched on, when he pins the 144 with both treble 18 and then the double as well, it's just vintage stuff from Voltage, isn't it? It's just what we came to expect. But obviously, prior to this week commencing, he hadn't really kicked off the campaign in probably the way that he would have liked. Maybe just showing glimpses of what he can do. Obviously, didn't go the full way today, but I think in the next few weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him in the final.
Well, to be fair, I actually thought about changing my predictions from Littler to win to Cross to win earlier on today, actually, because I thought that Roberto would do bits, but we will come on to him a little bit later in that game against Michael Van Gerwen. Cam, I'll turn to you on this. Michael Smith. Now, this is an interesting one. He was top of the table coming into tonight. Look, let's not beat around the bush here. He is still second in the league, but hasn't been the greatest of weeks for Bully Boy, considering the fact that he had a really shocking week at the Pro Tour and this. Look, I don't think this is going to define him for the year, but after what was a sort of nice start, a comfortable enough start for him, certainly in this event, it just seems to have taken a little bit of a dive over the past few weeks, the last week or so.
Yeah, it does. Like you say, a really poor week at the Pro Tour, going out second round and first round, losing to Hurrell and Lowby, who, with the greatest respect, very good players, but they are not on Michael Smith's level if he's playing well. And he's just not really turned up again tonight. I mean, yeah, it's a 90 average, which is just so far off what we come to expect from him and what we know he can do. Not so great on the outer ring again. There's plenty of misses in there as well. And it was, I think we were 4 legs in before he hit a 140, which is just ridiculous for a player of his scoring power.
Yeah, it's a good point. Fair point. Well made. Dan, as the elder statesman of the group, you sum up this quarterfinal then now. To talk about Rob Cross, I think, in a way, we always caveat by anything by saying, what is a Rob Cross? But Rob Cross at the minute, I think, is having a really good, solid start to the Premier League. Yes, he didn't make it into the final, but he is only a point off the playoffs if we look at the table early on. And the key thing to me on this is the fact that as a player who's coming back from the Premier League into the Premier League format, 2 wins out of in 3 nights, it's solid enough points. And if you just keep ticking over, you will be there, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly so. It's there or thereabouts, isn't it? And you sort of think the game's there or thereabouts. I think in terms of just pulling together this game specifically, if I could give an overarching view on it, is that, you know, that the averages are virtually identical. You got 90.52 playing 90.36, virtually identical. You got a 3% difference in the doubling. When the standard is so similar over the course of 10 legs, the only thing that will then make the difference is either big mistakes or moments of quality. And that's what we saw from Rob Cross, was we saw just glimpses of moments of quality. The 144, where because if you look at every other number for the match, you know, there's one different in the 140s. They're exactly the same ton plus throws in the scoring. The averages are virtually identical. This was statistically, this was a very, very like for like match. And in that, over a short format, one moment of quality will get the job done. And that's pretty much what we've seen. And as long as Rob Cross can produce that, because we know in terms of his level, he can keep pace with anybody in the Premier League this year, the way everybody's playing, he can keep pace with them. And if he can produce a moment here and there over a short format, they'll continue to pick up points here, you know, a semi-final here, and he'll make a semi-final in 2 weeks' time, and he'll make a final every now and again. And I don't think Rob Cross is going to top the table. I don't think he's going to finish second. I think Rob Cross will we'll come to the end of the process and we'll probably find out on the final night of this circuit if Rob Cross or another will be that 4th spot in finals night, is the way I think his campaign's going to go. But very steady. Yeah, he looks good, and he looks very much as someone who wasn't there last year, that he's very comfortable on that stage. And we know he's been there before. He's not a debutant, but yeah, comfortable and good. I don't want to go over egg it, but yeah, it looks all right.
I think the key for me on this one, personally, is that obviously I think one player is already at finals night, but we will come on to him when he talk about how he got there, how he got to the finals tonight and won it. But Cam, you mentioned it. If we move on to the second quarter final, Peter Wright could have been 5-1 up.
Yeah, probably should have been. Okay, a couple of them missed doubles were only at the end of sort of ton plus combinations in 2 of the legs and didn't get another shot. But then there were also just some absolute bobbins around the outer ring where he was just. You'd have fancied me to hit one more up there tonight than him, like at times up there. And that's.
I don't know about that.
Yes.
Wouldn't go that far.
As much as you can say about it, in that how bad it was at times from him on that outer ring. I was shocked he got 2 legs on the board, because last starting hand on that 5-5, I did not think there was a cat in hell's chance that was going to go in. But to be fair, that was a pretty good dart, because it was fairly blocked as well after the first 2. Yeah, it's what we've seen from Snakey for the last week or so. He's looking better and looking like he's playing more like the snakebite we know, but he's not winning when it matters.
Yeah, Jacob, this is the thing for me, I think, is the fact that, like, obviously the fall off for Peter Wright has been well documented, and we don't need to go into it, but we saw signs on Tuesday with him making a semi-final of a Pro Tour, obviously losing out to the eventual winner in Gary Anderson, that something might be back. We saw it last week against Luke Humphreys. Cam and I were discussing this last week when, he averaged 94, but it felt like he was averaging 98 or 99. Look, Jamie says looking better. How bad was he playing then? Yes, he was playing pretty poor. Let's not forget the Dutch Darts Masters where he averaged 81 and lost to Kevin Dukes. But we saw that there was signs there. But they're missing 17 out of 19 on the doubles tonight. Just feels like he's taken 2 steps forward and 2 steps back this week. Yeah,
I was about to say the big statistic that you read from that one is 10.53% checkout ratio in comparison to Michael van Gerwen's 66.6. That tells you the story of the game, where he's had ample opportunities but just not been able to take them. The pivotal moment for me was when he found himself 4-1 down, and he has a handful of darts to get himself back into the game at 4-2. Granted that MVG was in the favourable position, but it just seems to be more so that people are recognising more so the downfall of Snakebite, who is obviously enjoying his 11th successive stint in the Premier League, rather than looking at maybe the brilliance of Michael van Gerwen, who just kept doing what he needed to do to get over the line in that one, and then obviously was the eventual winner today. But for me, it was a weird game, because like Cam mentioned, he probably should have been in a much better position after 6 legs, but he found himself on the opposite end of the result in the end, which was a bit bizarre, but we've came to expect that, haven't we, in the last few weeks?
Well, let's hear from Snakebite himself. Now, normally we don't get loser interviews. We certainly normally don't get quarter-final interviews here, but we do have a clip from the Peter Wright interview that he took place in his press conference. Let's see what he had to say.
Yeah, and I was just gutted to let him down. Even though I was like 5-1 down, I thought, if it clicked, because Michael's not on it, and I was thinking, I could still win this game. I know where my game is, and it's like, I don't know. I was just waiting for it to go ding, and I was ready. But Michael probably would have stepped up as well as if I started hitting something.
We saw some real improvements from you on the Pro Tour in Wigan, some really good averages again, more like yourself. So does that make tonight even more frustrating because it's there?
Yeah. Well, no, it was nowhere near on the Pro Tour, to be honest. There was just like my finishing got me out of sticky situations on the Pro Tour. But obviously my finishing there was absolute, wasn't great. It was terrible, to be honest. But it's, you're not playing in front of 10,000 people on a floor tournament, are you? So it's it's totally different. And you're playing in front of your home crowd. It's you've got that added extra pressure, and it's hard to deal with, to be honest. But I felt great going up there. I felt practice was going really good and stuff like that. But maybe in a couple of weeks it might start coming out properly, in the Premier League, and I know I'll finish in the top 4 definitely.
Sorry, I shouldn't have laughed at that last point.
Bullish at the end there.
Yes.
Peter,
I think the key there is he's clearly just struggling with nerves a little bit as well, which is not something you really associate with Peter Wright, to be fair.
not from someone who doesn't win Mickey Mouse tournaments anyway.
Well, you think? I mean, he missed 6 darts to win a Mickey Mouse tournament back in 2017. We're calling them not ranked. So do you know what I mean? All I'll say is that if he calls that his home crowd, I can now claim that I'm Irish and get away with it completely.
I was thinking that.
Peter Wright, I feel, is
very
giving
loosely
you
Scottish, like.
He's the only man that's ever going to stamp your Irish passport, Peter Wright. I think that the only thing I want to just pick out on that game very quickly is, and there was one sentence that I found myself immediately nodding to when Peter said Michael wasn't at it. Michael van Gerwen in this game was far from at it. It's very, very rare that you will be allowed to win 6-2 in the Premier League and average 89. Very rare.
Not only that, it was a true 89 as well, because he's been good on the outer ring. It's not like it's an 89 because he's been missing all over the place.
Yeah,
that was a true average of 89 there. If anything,
and I feel, it's very early in a show where we're probably going to be talking about Michael van Gerwen a lot. It's very early in it to break out the doing the right things at the right time phrase. But if one entire night of Premier League darts could be summed up by a sentence, it would be Michael van Gerwen doing the right things at the right time, because his scoring was garbage in that match. He was completely not at it at all. But he just managed to hit the doubles when Peter Wright didn't. And that's how you win darts matches. You hit the doubles when your opponent doesn't.
As the great Bobby George always says, scoring for show, doubles for dough. And remember,
George, before we move on, I'm going to call you out on your Irish thing there as well. Get upstairs in that house that you're in, that I was in on Sunday night watching the Super Bowl with you, and get that picture of you in the England shirt out.
You know what you're talking about. Right, moving on. You can watch Bobby George, by the way, every single day over the next 3 days. You can watch him alongside Ray Stubbs and Helen Chamberlain as part of the World Senior Darts Championship. It is live on the BBC iPlayer and BBC Sport website if you are in the UK. If you're not in the UK, you can watch every single dart live through 24/7 pay-per-view for just £5 all weekend. So make sure that you get involved.
A very quick score update, by the way, Giles, just because it is live, is Kevin Painter has pulled a set back against Jim McEwen. So that game that's live now, and I don't encourage you to turn off and watch it, but just that's why I'm keeping you all up to date. Jim McEwen is now 2-1 up on Kevin Painter.
Well, not live now. Why wasn't I told? Right, we're moving on. We've got 2 more quarterfinals to look back on, and Jacob, will come to you first on this. Luke Humphries against Nathan Aspinall. Humphries averaging at one point, I think I remember hearing comms saying 130 after 4 legs and was 3-1 down. But if anything sums up the world champion there, especially after getting walloped as well by Ian White earlier on this week on the Pro Tour, you come back and you win that game against Nathan Aspinall with a 105 checkout. Very, very good performance there.
Yeah, fantastic. And particularly the 105 out at the end to wrap it up in style. Aspinall, I think, has by no means should really feel ashamed from that performance. Obviously, he found himself 3-1 up. But the big talking point is leg 2, where he misses double 12 for the 9 darter. And then Humphrey pins 41 to level up. A bit of a low blow, or a sucker punch, I think is probably the better way to word that one. It's not too often that you see that happen to you. But similar to Michael Smith, he was just ruthless on the doubles tonight, and that's what got him over the line.
By the way, I should say a very, very quick shout out to Anthony as well from Texas. Hope you are doing well, my friend. Good to have you with us in the chat. Luke, thing is this one there, Dan, right? I think this is a very, very important win for Luke Humphries. As I say, well, it was, let's be honest, a shit start to the Pro Tour for him. Let's have it right. You'll call it right as it is. He just won 4 out of 10 matches before tonight in the year as the world champion. To come back from that, but also it's another performance there from Nathan Aspinall where he started really well, just like he did last week against MBG, but he couldn't cash the chips in when it mattered.
Well, yeah, I mean, and sort of going from one at a time, I think it was a very important win for Luke Humphries, certainly because his Premier League didn't get off to a great start. Yes, he won a match, but again, without taking the mick, he beat Peter Wright, which at the minute, that's not, if your confidence is down and you're not feeling that you're at it, beating Peter Wright is doing nothing for you. You're not going away going, oh, bloody hell, yeah, actually, it's all back now. It's great. I can beat Peter Wright. And the pressure was on him, I think, a little bit. Maybe not, maybe he doesn't feel it at all. Maybe he just thought, maybe he didn't think it. But I know, because we talk away from this, and there's lots of people in darts talk offline. Lots of people were pointing the finger a bit at Luke and saying he's not quite kicking on. He's not quite kicking his hand, and the possibly the greatest back end to the year he could have imagined, and he hasn't quite got up and running again. And sometimes all it takes is a win or two to get that back under the belt. Nathan Aspinall, on the other hand, is a player that maybe in the Premier League we start to worry about. 3 weeks. I know we're only 3 weeks in, but 3 first-round defeats. Michael Smith next week. That, if I'm honest, I think where that's at in a Premier League setting at the moment is a bit of a coin toss. I think that could go 50-50. Nathan needs to find something, and he needs to find something quite quickly on this big stage in the Premier League before he gets on top of him, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. He does. Cam, I do apologise. I know you don't want to talk. You want to talk about your boy Nathan Aspinall, but we have to move it on. And I do apologise for that. Jamie asked, by the way, is that why Wright was put in about in confidence? No, remember he is a European champion, regardless of what you might think. Right.
And Scottish.
Yeah, and he's Scottish, of course.
Yeah.
So there.
He has got good hair and a good walk on for the crowd.
Yes. I will, though, allow you to have the first word on this quarterfinal, the final quarterfinal, which was going price 6, Luke Littler 5. Gezi missing double 12 as well for another 9 darter. It was a night of missed 9 darters, the second one of the night. A lot of reaction on social media to Luke Littler going a bit ape crap, I think, at himself in that final deciding leg where instead of going on the 96, he went for the double 18 and then went for the tops. When he had 76 left. I haven't got an issue with this because he's not having a go at the crowd. He's not having a go at Price. He's not having a go at anybody else. He's having a go at himself.
Agreed.
The treble 20 was perfect. Should have gone for it to lead double 8.
Yeah, I think he's just he just made the wrong decision in the moment. But then again, if he hits the double 18, we all know how good he is on the 18 segment. If he hits the double 18, he definitely follows it and it goes in as well. So it was only the wrong decision because it didn't go in, which I think is pretty much the way that sport goes. And he might well have gone the other way and thrown it. I didn't actually think it was that good of a marker for the treble 20 for him, bearing in mind how closely he groups his darts together. There was a decent gap above it that he could have rattled it into that other dart and it's still been above the treble. You were probably good to move me on from Nathan Aspinall. I was about to tell everyone how he's the best player in the Premier League for the first 4 legs of every match, and then falls off. And about how much better his throw actually looked tonight, which I'm going to get in there anyway because it did look a lot smoother and a lot less regrips. But yeah, this game was bloody good, wasn't it? It was just really enjoyable to watch. It was back and forth, and yeah, Littler was upset that he didn't win it. And I mean, the day that you show me someone that's happy getting beat is the day you show me someone that's never going to do anything.
Precisely.
Precisely.
Perfect point.
Absolutely pissed off if they get beat.
Who was it? Who was it that said, "The day you show me a good loser is the day you show me a loser"? Who was that? Mate, that quote.
I can't remember, but that is exactly the point, isn't it? If you've not got that sort of edge and that, yeah, okay, it looks a little bit petulant on stage, but so bloody what? He's just lost a massive game on the telly.
He's 17 as well. Like, can we just relax ourselves for a kickoff?
There's a good chance at 17 that my darts would have been thrown somewhere else, rather than just berating myself a little bit.
I think it's really important as well to keep some context within grown-ups and intelligent people, because already, like this week we have seen it, and this, those of us that watch lots of darts, it's easy to find it funny that it's being reported on loads of big followed social media channels, like breaking news: Luke Littler has been beaten. But early in the week, we saw breaking news: Luke Littler's been beaten by by a guy that won a Pro Tour event 3 months ago. This is absolutely ridiculous.
He's unranked, apparently. He's just
absolutely bollocks for want of a better. And then already we're seeing tonight how Luke, there is not the rest of the top 8 that are in this. There's not a single man amongst them that hasn't been beaten multiple times in the first round of a Premier League night. The fact that it's happened to one person is not a news story. It's not newsworthy in any way whatsoever. It will happen multiple times throughout a Premier League cycle. It was a decent game, and Gezi got the better of Luke. That's it.
Yeah. The key thing here, of course, going back to that clip from Gary from the Worlds that we had with us, is the fact that the media love to tear down people like Luke Littler, and to use Gary's words, just let the boy play darts. That's all he wants to do. Let the boy play darts.
Just wants to play darts. Well, actually, he just wants to play. He just wants to play FIFA. But
he also made the fantastic point of how the media's almost had an effect on the progression of Josh Rock, who we're talking about. Who was in a conversation of one of the best upcoming darts players. And then now that Luke Littler's came in, it's out with the old and in with the new. So you just hope that the media doesn't hinder his development. Obviously, they probably had a big part to play in his involvement in the Premier League darts, and there's still a chance that he can have every success in this tournament. But they just need to make sure that they don't heighten the issue and just almost put an arm around his shoulder when it's needed, especially in times like this.
You think the tabloid media are like that?
Yeah, valid point.
Yeah.
We're the good media.
We know.
We'll put an arm around his shoulder.
We're the good guys.
He'll be touted up in the Daily Mail tomorrow as Luke Littler. That's
bang on. I could already see the Daily Mail headline like that, because they are scum, in particular that paper. We're moving on, because I will talk about going price a bit later when we talk about these two semi-finals. So let's talk about this again. Michael Van Gerwen 6, Rob Cross 4, and then Luke Humphries 6, going price 3. Jacob, we'll come to you first on this game. On the first semi-final, this was, I've got to be honest, I don't like saying it, but it was a dull fixture. Certainly for the first 4 legs, it was toss, quite frankly. I've seen better darts down the pub. And then MVG just found the break of throwing the 5th leg, and it just turned into a standard procession. He goes and wins, and, that's it, really. I mean, is there anything more I can add? I don't think I can.
Not really. After that 5th leg, like you touch on, Rob was always chasing the game, and it was always going to be pivotal, the first break of throw. Obviously, just before that, MVG actually pinned a 10-dart leg, which I think almost acted as a catalyst and in generating some momentum in this game. But for Rob Cross, it was probably going to be the biggest test for him of the night. If he goes on and prevails against MVG, then you fancy him and his chances in the final. But maybe just one step too far, and MVG maybe using the first round game as maybe a bit of a catapult as well. I think would probably be my take on that. I just think MVG just showing that he's got enough to get over the games when he needs to.
Let's move on, actually, because with the best one in the world, there is literally nothing else to sort of say on this game. I genuinely don't believe that, unless you two have got anything to add.
No, let's move on.
No, absolutely.
Move on.
It's standard night. It's just a standard. MVG. It's like a standard Roman Reigns title defense. We know what's going to happen, and we knew what was going to happen there with MVG.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, you are losing out, my friend, and you are less for that.
Yes. Luke Humphries going Price. Cam, bit more a back and forth game this. Luke going ahead, Gezi getting back, Luke taking the break again. Really good final leg. Just a genuinely great game of darts. That's all I want. Great game of darts.
Yeah, it was. It was a really good game of darts. I actually fancied Gezi to come through this, and not just because I'd picked him to win the night in our predictions, but I just thought he, coming out of the last couple of weeks, I just thought rested as well, obviously, because he'd taken a couple of days off in the middle of the week that he wasn't planning on taking off initially.
Yeah, I was going to ask, was it warm enough in the venue tonight? I don't know.
Maybe not. It must have been for the first round game because he won that one, but then it might not have been for this one. I think they put the aircon on in between, and it got a little bit chilly once he went behind.
Yes.
So, I mean, I don't know. I still think there's probably more to whatever went on Monday than what's been reported, or than what he wants to let on. Whether there's something else going on in the background with him that he just didn't want to be there, or there's clearly something not right. But I thought being rested, coming into this, he played very well first game, got over the line in a tight game. I thought he might have a little bit too much for Humphries off the back of the way he's been playing over the last couple of weeks as well, and losing games when you sort of expected him to kick on. But it was really good from him at the end, and sort of the way he battered the treble 20 bed towards the last couple of legs in this to make sure that Gezi had no chance of coming back at him was very impressive.
Dan, a word on Gerwyn Price. Another interesting night for him. Obviously made the final in Cardiff on week one. Now a semi-finalist again. He's only just outside the top four. Very, very early days, but he's right there in the mix.
Yeah, very. You almost took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, it's early days, but he is. He's sitting just inside there. He is right in the mix. I think again. I don't want to bore everyone and repeat sort of what Cameron said, but going into this match, having come through that game against Littler in the way that he did, I really fancied Gezi at both during the walk-on, if you like, and then at certain moments of this match, I thought he's at it, and he's just gonna, and it just didn't click together for me in the moments where he was at it didn't link together. They weren't 2-3 legs on the spin. It was like he looked at it for a leg, and then he had one off, and he drifted a bit, and he let Luke in, and Luke was just very consistent all the way through. Whereas I think in this particular game, Gezi peaked and troughed a little bit. And you can't peak and trough against someone who's going to, average 100 and just bang all the way through the game. And that's, I think, what happened. There was just a few, one too many dip for Gezi in this that just meant Luke could get ahead and then put him to bed.
He did put him to bed, but he couldn't put Michael van Gerwen to bed, because that is who won night 3 of the BetMGM Premier League darts. A very, very interesting game, this. Real back and forth. Humphries breaking first, then MVG finding a way through on double 19 and tops to get level at 1 apiece. Humphries breaking again, went 4-2 up, had 4 darts at 5-2. He had the chance. It was like, I had this vision, Jacob, I thought of, it was like that game between Humphries and Cullen at the World Championships, where everybody just couldn't hit a double. And in the end, obviously, it didn't matter for Humphries then, but it did matter for Humphries now, because it's amazing as well. 5-2. 5-2 would have been for Littler in that final, and it wouldn't have been able to come back. I think here that if it was 5-2, Humphries probably would have put MVG away and got his first night. But in the end, the Green Machine does what he does, and he's on to 10 points, and it's another back-to-back. The first player to go back-to-back nightly wins in the Premier League this season.
It's like you're stealing my stats tonight, because that's what I was just about to lead with.
Well, I have to have something, mate. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll give you another one. He's obviously won the Premier League 7 times, and obviously shown his quality once again. Michael van Gerwen, how many times do we see that he just keeps himself at arm's length? And when he gets a sniff, he takes it. He's almost like a shark when you're waiting for him to pounce and waiting for him to attack, and He always does it at the right times. Probably not the best analogy describing a shot, that, but what I mean is, it's just like, we've lost a few listeners after that analogy, but we'll go back to Michael Van Gerwen at 4-2 down. Like you say, if Humphreys gets that pivotal hold of throw to make it 5-2, then you don't see any way back, particularly as he's got the throw 2 more times after that. But somehow Michael Van Gerwen finds a way, as he always does.
Yeah, Cam, a word on Luke Humphreys here, if I may. Very, very important win back. It actually takes him into the top 4. We'll show you the Premier League table in just a little bit. Takes him into the top 4, but he'll be gutted, won't he? He will be gutted to miss out.
He will be, yeah. Because of how close he was, and like you say, that 5-2 would have been massive, and the opportunity was there for it. I think I was sort of like flicking in and out of keeping an eye on it because I thought it was sort of done, and I was playing darts myself as well, and I was just like, thought when he got down to that point, I thought it's going to be wrapped up here, and I'm not going to be finished playing darts in time for us to start on here because it was flying through it, and then obviously from there though. Really good from MVG. It looked like he might run away and win it 6-4 in the end. But Luke then fought back, the 1-2-1 to get it to 5 apiece as well. I think you thought at that point, he's sort of back in the driving seat, even though he didn't have the darts in that final leg. You thought the way he just fought back after being absolutely battered for the last 3 or 4 legs, that he might just be able to go on and get it done and, like I say, really jump up that table even more with winning the night as well. But he's doing what he needs to do in it. He's picking up points, and that's all you've got to do at this point. Just consistently just accumulate points. He'll win a couple of nights without a doubt as we go throughout this tournament because he is just too good not to. And it's a solid enough start for him as well, Cam. And he might just bundle his way through this tournament, get himself in the top 4 and go and win it, and then everyone's talk about the fact that he's not really backing up being world champion, world number 1 is gone.
Very, very fair point. Dan, final word on this game and on MVG before we talk about the table and talk about everything else. As we said before, and we've said throughout the night, he did the right things at the right moments. It's a second straight 6-5 win in the final. Although Luke Humphreys didn't have a match dart like Luke Littler did last week, he had chances and he didn't put it away. I've got to be honest, Cam and I probably have massive egg on our faces after talking about from week 1 where we said that we were concerned about Michael.
I don't remember saying that.
Got in, yeah, honestly. So you got in there just before, and you've owned up to it before I called you out on it. Look, but yeah, it was. And
we have mistakes on this show. There's not many, but you know,
it was interesting because and I get I know the thing is you both said it and quantified your reasons. You know, it wasn't just throwing something. You had reasons for it to back it up. Gob and I spoke, I think, the Monday following on the live lounge, and I said I wasn't worried about Michael Van Gerwen. I picked him tonight after last week. I think he's just in that mode at the moment where he can do the right things at the right time. And the thing is, and where I think Michael has come up against it in the last couple of years, where he hasn't won everything that people he wanted to win and other people thought he might, is when he's met someone else flying. He's met Gezi Price in the form of his life. He's met Luke Humphreys turning everybody over in the back end of last year. He's met Michael Smith on the ascendancy to his, to finally getting his world championship. And it's just a handful of things at the moment. Outside of probably Luke Littler, nobody else at the minute is really being able to put a consistently dominant, high scoring, high finishing, really high level performance and maintain it. And as long as no one else does that, Michael Van Gerwen will continue to come in and pick off everybody. And if you're not at your best and you're not playing at that highest level, he will just turn up and beat you.
It's like you listen to his clip. Shall we all listen to our clip?
Wow, I've not heard it.
I'm not going to switch off. I'll probably switch off tonight, to be fair. But I still won somehow. But I always believe in my own ability, and I think my performance was strong today. The gameplay, the way how I finished it, the way how I put the people under pressure on the right moments, and sometimes you can see that's important as well.
Is that a worry for everyone else, the fact that you're now 3 points clear at the top, back-to-back wins, and you're not playing your best?
Maybe, but yeah, you can better ask the other guys. I don't want to do too many interviews, because then I have to tell other players what to do. Not really, to be fair. They didn't really test me, did they?
I think he switched off towards the end of that interview, to be honest.
He's in a playful mood this evening, is Mighty Mike. There's no doubt about that. You can actually watch that full interview straight after us here on the Fallout Bar. You can go on Online Darts, you'll be able to find it straight there with Michael Van Gerwen. You'll also be able to hear that full interview from Peter Wright. And there we have the night 3 bracket. Thanks to our friends at Sky Sports for sending this. Definitely sends it. We definitely didn't crop it.
Definitely, no.
I'm sure one of us is paying a Sky Sports subscription. Don't worry, it's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I got this straight from Sky Go. Anyway, Rob Cross beat Michael Smith 6-4. Michael Van Gerwen won 6-2 against Peter Wright. Luke Humphries winning 6-3 against Nathan Aspinall, and Gavin Price winning against Luke Littler 6-5. Rob Cross losing 6-4 to Michael Van Gerwen in the first semi-final. Luke Humphries winning 6-3 against Gavin Price in the second. And then, as we say, Michael Van Gerwen beating Luke Humphries 6-5 in the final. Before we go and talk about the table, just want to say a massive thank you as well to our sponsors throughout the Premier League this year. That is, of course, the wonderful BetMGM. Remember, don't forget that this year they are offering a fantastic thing. Let's not forget that, by the way. They are offering golden arrows, a chance for you to double your money on all Premier League bets throughout the year, throughout the tournament. Simply just place a £5 bet on any combination or any bet, excluding bet builders, but all cross combinations. You can put across all 4 quarterfinals. And as long as they all come in, you will double your profit up to £1,000. It is a fantastic offer. Plus, as well, if you haven't already signed up, bet £10 right now. Sign up to BetMGM, bet £10, you get £40 in free bets. It is a marvellous offer, which we took advantage of in the Super Bowl. We definitely lost it, but it's fine. You can go
a bit like the double your odds offer, whereas me and you are both still on double nothing after 3 weeks.
But we'll get there in the end. By the way, if you want to sign up, you can do right now. BetMGM.co.uk. Go search in the App Store or in the Google Play Store. Don't forget, of course, 18 plus if you want to have a flutter, and please be gambleaware.org. Right, let's talk about the table then as we close out night 3 of the Fallout Bar for the 2024 BetMGM Premier League Darts. There we see at the top of the table, Michael Van Gerwen is there on 10 points. Michael Smith second on 7. Luke Littler and Luke Humphries and Gavin Price on 5 points. Rob Cross on 4, and yet to get off the mark, Nathan Aspinall and Peter Wright. Now, gentlemen, tell you what, Dan, we'll come to you first. Normally, in this thing here, if you're on 0 points after 3 weeks, in the old format, I'd say you're already gone. Not in this format, because if they win the night, they'd jump into the top 4. They'd be on 5 points. They would be close to potentially Luke Litter or Luke Humphries. I look
correct, and yeah, 100% correct. And the interesting stat that I was going to throw out, and it ties really well into the point you made there. We've only had 3 weeks so far. None of these players, not a single one of them, have won their opening round game all 3 weeks. Nobody has. Not a single player has won that. And if you look at, how dominant Luke Littler's been, and Luke Humphries, the levels up, Michael Van Gerwen doing the right things there. Not one of these 8 players has won all 3 of their opening games.
That's a fantastic stat, by the way. That's a really good stat. Well played, sir.
Thank you. Well, and that, I think, is the that is the unpick it. That's why 8th and 7th position, having not got through, doesn't seem like a million miles away, because we often see the top end, certainly the top 1, 2, 3, really pulling away. And I appreciate Michael Van Gerwen on 10 with 2 wins, but really, because everyone else is, the vast majority of everyone else is really either lost in the first round, made a semi, or been a runner-up on that next set. what it's done is it's really tightened the table up, and we haven't got that breakaway of, you know, the top end and the lower ebb. It is just, you know, Nathan Aspinall pulls it together for 3 games, and he's right in there immediately, and that is because I think that everyone's lacking a bit of consistency at the minute. And it's making for a more exciting Premier League. It's making it more unpredictable. We're getting more exciting results. It makes my ability to pick 5 winners in a quarterfinal and the winner of the match more. It makes that achievement and knowledge of on my much at a much higher level than normal.
If anything, Dan, it takes away from it and says that it's
a lottery. It's a complete lottery.
Total lottery.
I'm not giving you any credit for it. No.
Quite right. You do right not to.
Cam, before we go, Jacob, we'll get you in for a final word in a second. But Cam, I am going to make a prediction here about our good friend Michael Van Gerwen that has got no problems anymore. I've got to be honest, with that lead already, they're fighting for 3 more spots. He's there because he will win at least another couple of events. And there's no doubt about that. And I think they're already playing for 3 spots. I think he's already there.
Yeah, but you probably could have said that before we started, to be honest. He always makes finals now. Like he's before, even if he was sat at the bottom where Peter Wright is, you'd still go, he's gonna make it, isn't he? Like he always makes finals night. So yeah, they probably are, but I do think he's so tough to pick because it is literally 3 from 5, and that's without saying that. I mean, I thought Nathan looked good tonight as much as he got beat. Peter Wright's looking better. They're going to win. They're going to win games as well. They're not out of it by any means. I mean, like I say, it's 1 night win and you're in the top 4. Like it's that close. So I do think they will probably miss out those 2. But between the other 5 for 3 spots, literally just throwing darts at the board and seeing which 3 players it lands in, because it's going to be so close between them all.
Jacob, it's the newbie. You get final word as well. You get the first word and the last word. What are your overall thoughts coming out of night 3 of the Premier League?
For me, the big talking point, Peter Wright, obviously we've touched on it previously, that he's starting to show glimpses of his old self. But I think the big talking point for Peter Wright depends how quickly this resurgence transpires. Obviously, we've seen signs of it tonight that he can present himself with good opportunities, but it's just taking those opportunities. Nathan Aspinall, as Cam already alluded to, he seems to be brilliant for the opening 3 or 4 legs, but just doesn't have maybe that tenacity and nastiness at the minute to see games through. Rob Cross, I think probably would be my outside shout for the top 4. Weirdly, not just because of the surname resemblance, but I generally think that Rob Cross, we're starting to see that he's starting to show why he was selected for the Premier League. I think he's always presents himself well in terms of the floor events all throughout the year. So maybe 2024 is his big breakout year, like we saw with Luke Humphries, who isn't enjoying maybe the finest start to the new campaign, but is certainly showing signs once again. Littler, I think, particularly as the weeks go on, obviously the crowd are going to probably get more and more behind him. So I think that'll work in his favour. Michael Smith, we didn't really have too much to say on him today. Obviously, exited at round 1, but he's always a heavy scorer, isn't he? And he always finds himself doing the right things at the right time. And Michael Van Gerwen, I think it's his to lose at this stage. I really do.
Well, thank you very, very much indeed for that very detailed assessment, I must say. Jacob, as we end our fallout bar for night 3 of the 2024 BetMGM Premier League darts, Dan Simpson, Cam Fine, thank you very, very much indeed as well. I will hopefully see you in 2 weeks, although there might change, which I will talk about in a second, actually. I'll just say a couple of more village notices. Once again, a massive thank you to BetMGM, our tournament sponsor for this year. Remember, as we always have already said about the Golden Arrows, double your money are profits available right now on betmgm.co.uk for a maximum of £5 with a chance of winning up to £1,000 in a double your profit margins right now. You can go to betmgm.co.uk or sign up right now to BetMGM. And don't forget as well, if you haven't already signed up, but you do sign up, bet £10, get £40 in free bets. It's all thanks to BetMGM. It is showtime, and you can make sure that it must be 18 plus to have a bet, and please gambleaware.org. Lots of darts going on. There's no PDC darts this weekend, but my God, there's some brilliant darts. First of all, the Motor Super Series. Champions Week is on. You can actually go and watch Group B right now if you want to on the Motor Super Series YouTube channel. Well worth a watch. Champions Week in Group A was an absolute it was a killer. Tom Sykes and Scott Taylor playing it down to an absolute brilliant finish yesterday. Tom Sykes is already into Champions Week. There are still, though, Champions Night, I should say, there are still 5 places up for grabs, though. Who will take them? You can watch them right now. And don't forget that they'll be back at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Also back at 1 o'clock tomorrow is the World Senior Darts Championship. And Dan was giving an update on that game between Kevin Pater and Jim McEwen. How the bloody hell did Jim McEwen lose that?
I don't want to talk about it because I bloody picked him, didn't I?
Yes! You got to pick wrong. Yes!
To be fair,
Sorry, Jim.
Not only has that happened, so I was just checking out Flash Score for it. It was that much of a done deal that even though they've got it recorded as 3-2 to Painter, on the bracket they've actually put McEwen through. That's how much of a done deal it was that he was through at one point.
Indeed. Well, you can watch, remember, on the BBC iPlayer, BBC Sport website and app if you're in the UK, free of charge from 1 o'clock tomorrow. 2 more sessions, including potentially the last World Darts Championship game ever by a certain Philip Douglas Taylor. Will he be able to make it through to round 2, though? That is the big question.
Probably not, because I've just predicted in our chat that he wins the lot.
Well, then you're a moron. Right, that's that as well. 1 o'clock for the World Senior Darts Championship. The remaining first round games will be played across 2 sessions, so make sure that you join us for that. And of course, make sure you go and watch the Motor Super Series for Champions Week. A ridiculous week of darts. We are back here on Monday for Pro Tour Live. We had so many of you joining us for Pro Tour Live on Monday and Tuesday. We hope to have your company with you again on Monday, 1 o'clock. You can join us for that. For both Pro Tours on both Monday and Tuesday. We are trying to get the Euro Tour qualifier streamed as well for Euro Tour 3 and 4. That could be happening. We're not going to say it will, but we're trying to get that done. And also, we're back here next Thursday, straight after the Premier League, for night 4 of the Fallout Bar, live from Newcastle. Although it won't be me hosting this time around because I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break for the channel. I've just come back, but I am taking a little bit of a break. That is because my partner is due to be giving birth, hopefully, very, very soon indeed. So I will be leaving for a little while longer than normal, but I should hopefully be back at some point. But yes, so I won't be here next week or the week after that, or for the foreseeable, because I don't think I'll be able to sleep after having a newborn. But
you're going to be awake anyway. You might as well be on.
No, I don't.
Top out.
The first set of streams I did for Online Darts were with a newborn baby.
There you go.
I wasn't
Yeah,
sleeping.
your wife is a lot more, what's the word I can use, tolerant than my fiance. But I love you, Roche. Can't wait to welcome her.
Oh, that was nice, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Right, we are going to go because it is nearly midnight and I want to get to bed because it's going to be a long day tomorrow. But thanks very, very much indeed for your company as always. And as we often say on the Fallout Bar, we started the show with it and we'll end the show with it. 8 players come up and throw darts at a board during the Premier League. And at the end of it, Michael Van Gerwen always wins. We're back Monday, live Pro Tour here at 1 o'clock, and then the live lounge straight after. Tuesday Pro Tour, Wednesday hopefully Euro Tour qualifier, Thursday we're going to have the Fallout Bar as well. It's a busy week on Online Darts, so make sure that you watch, subscribe, and like the stream right now, and make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss one. From us all, take care. Goodbye. Lovely stuff.